Everybody, Andrew Wall here with Illuvium, and today we're going to be showing you never before seen behind the scenes action on the overworld in Illuvium. I'm really excited. We've got the all-star team here with the man you know, the man formerly known as Von Neumann is in the house. Let's bring him up on the screen. Grant Warwick in the house today. How you doing, buddy?
A little bit better than the Vulcan stream.
A little bit better. Got it. Good. Glad to have you here. Now, this was your idea to do the stream. You wanted to show, like, just be transparent, do a chill stream, and just show everybody what's going on in the overworld today, right?
Yes, because there's always an internal debate about like what we can show from gameplay versus artistically, and the art is always progressing at a rapid pace, and gameplay is something that we need to take our time with. So we've done so much art development over the last few months, and in that last video we released, it didn't showcase the art so much, and it's showing one region that hadn't changed a huge amount because we only worked on a small aspect of one level for that video. But we've got a lot of stuff to update tonight, and it's going to be more focused on the art development. But we've also got Ben here to discuss the gameplay that we're planning to implement into these new levels that you probably haven't seen before. And obviously, we've also got Mark, who I'll let you introduce.
Speaking of Ben, lead game designer, Einer. Ben is in the house. What's up, Ben?
Hello.
Perfect. Your microphone's a little bit hot there, but it's good. I see you have lots of Illuvium emojis in the background. So you're the lead game designer. Can you just give everybody the elevator pitch on what that means in terms of your role?
Yeah, absolutely. So a game designer is someone who, by and large, generates the systems and creates the systems that make up a game. So, what do we want you to move? How does movement feel? What do you feel at this moment, and so forth? Game design handles all of that, and I am the lead of that team.
Amazing. Of course, there was this name, Marc, that was mentioned a moment ago. Who is this Marc? Environment lead. Have you ever thought the environments in Illuvium looked good? This is the guy right here. Marc, how you doing today?
Good. Cheers. Nice intro.
So, you got it. So tell us, what does an environment lead do? And can you just help us understand what that aspect of game development's like and the types of things you work on each day? And then we're going to get into it.
Yeah, so it's mostly just arguing with Grant and Ben, and then at the end of the day, I'm kidding. So basically, environments lead is anything.
He's actually not. He's not at all.
It's already started. So basically, environment lead is more or less anything to do with the environments. Of course, obviously, our environments are really, really big. There's a lot of things to plan about how the hell you actually pull all of it together. How you manage all your assets, your team, who works on what. There's quite a bit to talk about. And also it's kind of the place where everything kind of comes together in a lot of ways. So, you go talk to a lot of departments, and, there's a lot of talk between all the way from Roger concept all the way up to Grant and everything in between. So yeah, it's kind of a nice in the middle kind of thing.
Awesome. So thank you very much for that. And so you guys argue with each other a lot. You clearly have this like friendly, competitive dynamic. Here's what we're talking about today, my friends. We're going to go over the art, environment, game design, and do a live Q&A with all of you guys that are watching on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube today in terms of the overworld. But what's the special treat here is that we've got screen shares of literally the in-development aspects of the overworld to show you. But before we get into it, in case any of you guys had your wallets ready and your credit cards ready and you're ready to buy based on what we're saying today, this is not financial advice. We are talking about developing a fun, cool, and inspiring video game here. So do your research. Maybe watching this stream is a part of you doing your research with Illuvium, but this is not financial advice. So I'll kick it over to you guys. We've got the screen share going here, and let me enable this. Let's just get straight into showing the alpha, showing behind the scenes, and showing everybody what is this?
Well, first, can I just give a quick intro to how we got to this point? Because
absolutely,
when we first started, Dimitri and myself hadn't used Unreal Engine before. We come from a 15-year career in CGI and doing cinematic stuff, high-res print advertising stuff, but not game development. And there was a transition period there where Marc wasn't on the team, and we were kind of just winging it and going off how we would do things in the print world. And because we're creating 7 different regions plus the main hub, it's a huge amount of work, and we have a skill set that can make the environments look amazing but not get properly organized. And since Marc has come on the team, he was the lead environment artist at Framestore, which is one of the biggest motion picture companies in the world, doing the most modern, next-gen Hollywood-level Unreal Engine work. So having him on the team has meant that we've drastically overhauled our entire workflow and pipeline, which we'll kind of go into today. And it's gotten everything a lot more organized and motivated. The other interesting thing, and the reason why we have a weird relationship, I guess you could say, is because we were actually good mates in high school, and we've known each other since the very, very start about both our CGI careers. So I went and did my own thing for a while after high school. We ended up working together at a company called Fuel International. I went off and did my own thing in print. Marc went off to another country, did his own thing. And when I hit him up about 7-8 months ago to begin that process of transferring over, I was like, holy shit, like we need a lead environment artist. And my best mate from high school has become a lead environment artist, and a good one. Like, I was like, what the hell? Like, there's a lot of things on Illuvium. And there are a lot of people working on this team now who I've worked with before. So it's kind of like a fun atmosphere. So if you see us giving each other shit, like, we know each other. You know, Ben, less
you go
so,
back.
But, you know, we go back.
He threatened to have me committed yesterday. So
man, you're too busy getting haircuts, bro. look at Marc and I. Right, that's dedication.
Grant spent an hour on this, by the way. He called me 3 times before they started saying, "Is my hair all right? Can you give me some advice?"
Oh, fuck off.
Genuinely was dead in for it.
Maybe you can design me some new ones. All right. But anyway, so what Marc is going to take you through now is the updated Sanctum Mesa, where we're just in the process of trying to pull everything together. So, and it's upside down.
It's upside down. So really quick, before we look at this, what interface is this that we're looking at this through? Clearly, this is not like a traditional game launcher situation. What is this interface? Help everybody understand. What is this workspace you're in?
Yeah, so basically, this is a program called Unreal Engine. I'm sure most people have heard of Unreal Engine at this point. There's quite a bit out there about it, but that's what we're making our game in, Unreal Engine 5, and this is just the editor. So there's no exe or anything yet. This is just as it comes. This can be moved. This can be, this is our sandbox to actually make the level. So it's basically, we have a series of stuff in here, and we can open up levels and work on them, and all the levels are divided into different areas and stuff like that, so that you can sort of work on as a larger team. So maybe one person's working on the Leviathan area, one person's working on the Ascendant Arena area. It's just a methodology to sort of break down your levels. But yeah, so this is
speaking of levels, which region are we looking at right now? Just so to give people context on where we're at in the world of Illuvium.
So this is Sanctum Mesa. This is our main hub. So this operates a little bit like a town center where you sort of, you come and, you head on over to the town center over here. And there's going to be lots of little shops and things like that where you can do a lot of your crafting.
This is where you'll access the survival arena that you've been playing in the current private beta. That's the main central part of the island. If you share Marc's screen, yeah. So this is obviously, everything you're seeing here is highly work in progress, but there's been a lot of progress. So we figured we'd show it anyway. So if you're seeing stuff that doesn't seem to make sense, looks unfinished, looks like there's not materials applied, all the types, lighting, everything involved in polishing a level, don't overthink it too much. But this will be the updated survival hub. On this main hub in Sanctum Mesa, you've also got the Ascendant Arena, which is on that back spire, over here. This will be where the ranked play is. And can you go full screen? Because it just looks really good.
True. Yeah.
it just looks really good.
Ooh, yeah. Very nice. So it's really interesting that spatially, each of these arenas are literally close to each other. So they aren't like
Yes.
instances, if you will. I mean, they will be instanced in some way, but they aren't instances that are completely separate and not actually connected in the real world.
Yes.
They are physically, you could physically, if you will, walk
Yep.
down this pathway, if you will, and reach both of these areas.
If you were to play the game, say you log in one afternoon and you want to play the game, first thing you might do is go teleport at the obelisk out into one of the regions, go explore that loop. Eventually, you're going to come back with a new bunch of characters and items, minerals, shards, things like that. You come back to the town hub. You'll process some of those things in the main hub at some of those stores and buildings that you can see. Oh, did it crash?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
no worries.
I was just trying to play because I was like, oh, this would be great.
Yeah.
I'll just press play while we're here, and then yep.
Oh, it crashed. Okay.
Yeah, lovely. I'll try one more time. If it doesn't work, I won't
Yeah,
It's okay. It wasn't on the screen. It doesn't really matter anyway. This is the real deal. You guys know this is not pre-recorded.
No.
This is the real deal. No. Go ahead and screen share again whenever you have a chance, and we'll show that. So each of these two different arenas then, Ben, can you help everybody understand the function of these two arenas just so they can have some context on, there's a battle board there. Clearly, Illuvials are going to be fighting each other in these areas. What exactly happens there, and why does it matter to our players?
Right. So in our auto battle game mode, we have 3 separate versions of it. We have a survival game mode, which is what you're playing in the beta right now. It's you against an AI, and it's you fighting against waves upon waves of Illuvials until you eventually lose, right? Then we have our PvP arena, which is called Ascendant, which is our ranked, highly competitive, highly skilled, where you bring in a deck and you battle against other people who've also done the same thing. Those decks are composed of your NFTs, right? Your Illuvials, your augments, your weapons, your armor, all of those things come together to build into your deck, which you take into there. And then finally, we have the Leviathan arena, which is our competitive mode on steroids. It is the high powerful without the sort of fairness of the competitive mode. It's where the best Illuvials, the most unique, the most powerful Illuvials can be brought in and can be used to beat up and abuse your opponent.
Got it. That totally makes sense. Thank you for that context. Just for everybody out there that's not closely following the project, we've got screen share back. So as we're going through these areas, so what do we want to share about the progress that has been made in these areas since, the gameplay footage that we showed kind of showed our ranger going through this obelisk and then heading into a particular region. So what's unique about this area, and what are some of the interesting things we could share about this Sanctum Mesa area with everyone?
Did you want to go, Grant, or me?
No, you go, man. Just show them around, like get up close and show them around the updated artwork. Like, as you can see now, there's a whole range of new plants and things like that. And one of the things that we've focused on in development is making sure that we have a really comprehensive asset library. As you guys know, in the character leaks, we've been posting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different plants. And although we won't end up using all of those artistically, you need to have a really strong palette of assets to be able to make the right choices. Like, as Salvatore is the artist who's working on that, he's been doing an amazing job of trying to make this area look more stylized and clean with correct path forming. And did it just? Oh no, we're back.
It's
trying
okay.
to make the area look more clean. And as you can see, like, there's not a huge amount of plants being utilized, but all the assets we do have, like those palms, if you go up and take a look at one of those, like the quality of each of the assets is, it's as good as it gets in game development. We've made sure, and these don't have animations on them yet. And, every plant will have some kind of idle animation, and whether they're, interactive or not, we'll eventually get to that. But right now, you're kind of seeing a static version of the level being blocked out, and it's really, really coming along. So
you use the term blocked out, and I know what that means because you've literally shown me blocking out. Can you explain to the audience what blocking out is? Why you would want to have this large library of plants and assets to be able to place in the world, and give everybody a little bit of an insight on what that blocking out process is like.
I'll start that off and I'll let Mark finish that, because at the start of our and this is something Mark changed, right? When we first started developing, I'm not going to lie, doing 7 different regions, 8 technically, feels kind of overwhelming with everything else we were doing with the characters and stuff like that. And front loading all of the work so that you've put the time and energy to make sure that the level flows correctly and plays correctly wasn't our primary focus, because we wanted to show people that we were capable of building out things quickly. The downside to that is when you go play the game, when you've got functional mechanics in place and things like that, what might have looked good before all of a sudden becomes messy, overcrowded, and hard to organize. You know, you've got heaps of too many assets in the scenes and stuff like that. So since Marc's come on, we've taken a different approach where we front load most of the work by making sure that the block out phase is nice and clean. And then from there, we build out the detail. You know, we start adding all of the other complexities. Like right now, there's not ocean waves on the water, but we do have artists working on those in separate scenes, which all get merged in at the very end of the process. And where Sanctum Mesa is at now is we've finished that updated block out and path forming, and now we're going through that process of detailing everything. And that's why some things look nice and then other things look a little bit unfinished. But maybe you can go over with the community, Marc, what Salvatore's got planned for this level to finalize it.
Yeah, for sure. So, for Sanctum Mesa, there's still obviously, I'm sure you could see many things that we could fix. Of course, there's lots of strange darkness and all sorts of easy to spot things. But the main thing with fixing or getting Sanctum Mesa up to final is more about making sure that each of these areas has sort of a more final path as well, because it's there. You can kind of feel that it's there, but it needs some more subtle integration with the sand. It needs some slightly more defined, darker paths, so that the player is not sort of wondering whether this is just regular sand versus something like this, to sort of indicate that there is in fact a path there. Lots and lots of little tweaks. The layout, of course, with all these plants, it's not we're not there yet, but at the moment it's feeling good, and that's kind of the main aim of this sort of stage of the level, is we just want it to feel good. As I'm moving around the level, it feels like I want it to feel.
If you could move just a little slower, it's just having a hard time catching up when you move faster. So help me understand. So when you're doing things like pathing, you're basically, and I've seen this in the other designs that you put together. For example, there'll be like a slit in a cave with light pouring out to draw the player in, to pull them into going to that area. Is that what you mean by pathing, where you're making in a direction the player could go so inviting looking that you don't need to have an arrow or have some UI element saying go over here? The environment itself leads you in that direction. Is that what you mean by that?
Exactly. So that's a combination. That's where we all have to collaborate. Like Ben, Grant, Roger, and I all have to collaborate on how do we want the player to feel as they're in this level. And it's not just simply an art question. It's a design question. It's a conceptual question. There's a lot of facets to plonking a player into a level, and I want them to go to the ship. So how do we make the ship more inviting? Well, we have to light it in a certain way. We have to make sure there's nothing obscuring its silhouette, so that, because if there's all this this junk in the way, it would make it very difficult to know, well, should I go there? I don't know. Should I go there? I don't. Nobody knows. So it's a lot of stripping things back, trying something else, stripping things back, trying something else. A lot of stuff gets thrown away because it just simply doesn't work. And we'll introduce a new idea, and it just simply won't look the same anymore. So we'll have to strip it back and go back to the drawing board in a lot of the ways that we were hoping to frame a certain silhouette, to say, hey, right here, I'm looking over at the obelisk. The obelisk. And I can see a path. There's clearly a path over here. It needs to be a bit more defined, still needs a bit more love to get it there, but it's a fairly inviting way to get over there. I want to go over there. And that's by design. It's not a, we haven't just sort of chuck some stuff over there and hope for the best. There's a reason why this central hub is around the center. There is a reason why this points a certain way. There is a reason why this cove goes like this, so that when you're over here, you can have, your eye will follow all the way around the beachhead, so that you're like, oh, what's that over there? And there's clearly a path up here. So these are very intentional decisions that we're all making here. And it's really the mix between art and design, for sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely part of making an open world game, right? It's not a singular path, right? And there's no firm, concrete objective. When you travel to one of our regions, you're going there to hunt for things, right? And where those things are change from run to run. So what we do with the level is we want to show you. We don't want you to be walking around in boring environments. We don't want you to be bored. We want you walking around beautiful environments and having those environments speak to you. They're saying, come on, look over here. This is a point of interest. This is catching your eye. All right. And we make sure that the spawning around that area is good so that we force you to walk towards the best, most interesting parts of our map without telling you where to go. There's no blink, go over here. There's no quest marker with a gigantic flashing arrow. It's the level itself is communicating with you, saying, this is a point of interest. Maybe there's something here. And the player then chooses where they want to path based on that, right?
Sorry, dude. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead, Meg. No, go ahead.
No, you go for it. It's all good.
Well, it's just part of our process here as to how a level comes into existence, right? We start off with concept art, right? Which is, what is the feel of this area? How does this work? At which point design gets involved and says, okay, well, how do I move through this area? It doesn't need to just look good. It needs to feel good. We have a unique and comprehensive movement system. And that means that some shapes, some forms of sort of the environment simply don't work, whereas some are awesome. They just feel great, right? So we then push those. We push those concepts out and we try and create an experience which is unique to each region, right? You go into Crimson Wastes, there are environments and game feels and game mechanics as you move around it that are unique to it. You won't see them elsewhere in the other regions. And that's what makes Crimson Waste feel so different when you play it. So we go from that to the blockout stages that we've been talking about, which is where we sanity test those things. We say, okay, well, is it fun for winds to blow you around? So we make a blockout level and we add wind and we go, okay, well, this feels cool. This is enjoyable. All right, we can work on this. And this is how one of the principles behind how we develop. It's the idea of, okay, well, when you're doing something new, that's risky. And there is a finite budget, there's a finite amount of scope. So we work to the principles of failing fast, right? We do a block out, we check something out. And if it doesn't work, then we haven't lost much time because we haven't gone too detailed. We've worked quickly and we've found out what works. And this allows us to home in very rapidly on things that are fun. And it allows us to push the boat out and be a bit more interesting and a bit more different and try things that are new.
And leading into that, we've got 7 different regions for a reason. We didn't just say, hey, let's make all these regions just to do it. We knew that without the gameplay arc that other AAA games have, like a Tomb Raider, which is like you're put on a path and there's a whole bunch of action and things like that take place, and that's the game, right? More work goes into that, but we thought we could get around that amount of work by making sure that each region had a different feel, so that as a player, if you want to go into a region that's more chilled, and I guess you could say, it's kind of like difficulty levels, but very mild, right? Every region's chilled in a sense that, it's not Dark Souls. You're not having
not Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's not Dark Souls, but some regions will feel claustrophobic. Other regions like Tiga Boreal will feel cold. Other regions like Brightland Steppes will feel massive and grand, and we push the idea of the movement system to its limit. Crimson Waste is meant to feel ominous and a little bit scarier. And so each region has its own feel. And maybe what you could do now, Mark, is load up the Tiga Boreal block out.
Really quick. I know you want to show more. Just a quick question here from chat. I thought this was a good one. Will we be able to use jetpacks in Sanctum Mesa? So I think people are wanting to know, how will I be able to interact within this region and move about, just to get a better sense of that.
All right, let me try to press play and I'll see what happens. And
oh boy, it might crash, guys. Get ready. Yeah. No whammy.
If not, we lose today, unfortunately.
Will Unreal beat us?
I think it's... Oh, no, this is bad. Way!
No!
Yeah,
all right.
Take that, Star Atlas.
And Jeopardy, even in our gameplay reveals.
I was holding my butt there for a bit.
This is live gameplay, obviously. It could crash at any moment, but there you go. There's your answer. Can you use jetpacks here? The jetpack is being used right now. Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I
so
never
restrict
thought of
your
something-
movement.
Somebody was commenting earlier, is this just a showroom? As you can see, this is not just a showroom. This is where players can experience the
Well-
area. So you mentioned a moment ago about pathing, and now that our ranger is actually on that path, it becomes more clear why this was designed this way. It almost looks like there's almost footsteps almost, or like those little even waves in the sand are leading you forward. And it's really interesting to see the scope of, this is something that you guys do. And I'd love to ask this question. How come everything is so freaking big relative to the size of the ranger in all of our areas? Like these plants are all giant. Even the little bushes are more than
Because
6 feet tall.
why go out and build a giant alien world if not to make it feel magnificent and like Pandora? You know, why limit? We don't have limits in UE5. So if you're going to do something, go big, you know. And I know we are just a mini game in the Star Atlas universe, but at the end of the day, in our minds, we feel like it's, you know, it's pretty big. And we also want to finish in this century. So,
Oh my god.
We do want to finish
actually
the
funny
century.
because, you know, I thought of something the other day, Mark, because remember when I hit you up and was mentioning buying a rock pack, and that would have been the first asset pack we ever use in Illuvium, because okay, like you see there's a lot of rocks around and stuff like that, and we've got the artists, they've been working on rocks and boring stuff for ages. It gets a bit monotonous, and so I was like, fuck it, maybe we just get an asset pack. And I remember on that Star Atlas interview where he was saying we don't use any outsourcing, and I was kind of like, fuck, I wonder what the Star Atlas team would think if they found out we're using outsourcing assets. And then I realized they don't have a team. So
All right, let's make this not about Star Atlas, but shots fired at Star Atlas. So let me ask you a question then. The last question I have for you guys about Sanctum Mesa: how do you want players to feel when they're experiencing this area that is different than the other regions? Like, what do you want players to walk away from here that's going to be different than the other regions, which are so drastically different visually, obviously, but this obviously has sort of this has sort of a tropical seaside feel, but it's also dry with the rocks, and there's different utility and functions here. So what's the intention behind this design?
But Sanctum Mesa is interesting because it's not a region in the sense that you're not going out here to travel to capture things traditionally outside of the tutorial, right? So it is a hub. It is the centerpiece. So it is meant to be calm, right? It's where you come to relax or to do battle or to experience other parts of our universe. So it's sort of it's somewhat unique. I do like the beach vibe, right? It's meant to feel like, you know, home. You've gone out into the dangerous wilderness filled with acid and, you know, difficulty, and now you're coming back home to safety, right?
Calmness. Got it.
Can we load up the Tiga Boreal lockout?
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be a good thing to progress to. So Sanctum Mesa has gone well beyond the blockout now, and we're starting to detail it and starting to make it look pretty. But the Tiga Boreal blockout will be one of the later regions we release. So it's not something where we'll show you the others that we're working on as well, and the outsourcers have been working on the stream. But so Tiga Boreal is a perfect example of a really, really masterful blockout that's going to segue into a really quick and efficient detail pass, because everything has been tested and made out to feel a certain way and path a certain way. We're all loving it internally.
So this is going to be the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that anyone's going to see this region in a sort of video format ever. So this is a world's first sort of look.
Big.
See how big it is. Got it.
Gone. You know, we've really, really gone big. It's kind of freaky. So
it's pretty big.
I will say, with the movement mechanics, we've still got the old movement system. The team is working on that updated movement mechanic, but eventually we will have a kind of gliding mechanic, which means once you base jump off a certain height, you'll be able to glide out to gain further distance, which will come into being useful in a couple of regions that are really, really high. But if you take a look at the scale, I mean, there's 7 of these regions, guys. Like it's pretty crazy what we're trying to achieve in the time we're trying to achieve it. So
And you're
that's just
right. What you're saying
you
right now is not a fraction of Tiger. This is
So,
are we jumping
There's
off?
an entire network.
yeah. Oh, it's crazy. You go just jump it.
Holy moly, look at this scale. Whoa.
So we'll have, like, you see Mozart bugging out and stuff. She'll eventually be facing head down, gliding down there. I mean,
no way. You guys actually made it this deep where like it would take this long to fall down to the bottom.
Yeah, just wait.
I mean, it would be quicker. She's not falling fast enough, but yeah, it's big.
It's because we haven't got we've got a new movement system coming in that addresses that, which basically the players can use at specific points in the regions to travel incredibly quickly. Right? It's falling from space sort of speeds. So
the interesting thing about that was this level. If I'm not wrong, this was the sort of we talked about it for a while about introducing some better some different mechanics and stuff. And I think this was the level where we're like, we have to do it because it's just so like it just needs it, So taking that big.
And every area has been path formed. Like you can see the beautiful thing about this level is when you go into the tunnels and things like that, it's a little bit more closed off, less open worldy, but everything's beautifully pathed, so it doesn't feel confusing. As you play the level a few times, you begin to gain a memory of different areas, and you can see we've given space to the player. It's not just crowded. Like this area is Tiga Boreal is meant to feel cold and massive. That was the idea behind it, and so we don't have all of the sound and VFX implemented and stuff like that, but like we want to make sure that the player can remember where they are in the regions. So you're not going in and just going, where the hell am I? Like, where did I find that spawn point and stuff?
It goes even deeper? Holy moly, guys.
Okay. So here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. These square pads you're seeing there are placeholders for geysers. So every so often, you'll be able to like jump onto one of those platforms, which is essentially just a geyser. And if you want to get all the way back up, you just jump on.
It'll shoot you back up.
It'll shoot you back up. Bang. So
cool.
You can go all the way up, and they're integrated throughout the level. So you've got that verticality. And these are the types of things that, going back to a block out, if we decided to detail this area with something as complex as that, where you're able to traverse a large area in a small amount of time, it might not work. And then all of a sudden, what was a week of work for someone set dressing gets redone. We're testing this now to avoid that, so that we know that when you jump on that geyser, the player knows that it's a clean transition to the top. They're not confused where they're going. And it's just going to be taking all of the assets we've been developing in our zoo and integrating them into the level.
And this is we understand the surface area versus the caverns really quick. So there's the surface snowy area we were at before with the cliffs. And then there's like caverns, and then there's deep caverns. And so help me understand the different feel between these different areas. Is it going to get darker as you go down and weirder? Is it going to be more devoid of life as you go deeper? Or is there going to be more life as you go deeper because of the dry surface? Help us give a little bit of a flavor, a little bit of take on the difference between these different levels, if you will, in terms of altitude in this region.
So our general rule of thumb is loot in interesting places, right? So big open surfaces on the top definitely still have loot, but they don't have huge density of loot, right? By and large, we want to force you to go to the interesting places in our level to find the best loot. So it's sort of more interesting, better loot, generally speaking, as a rule of thumb. Obviously, that changes from run to run depending on the spawning and so forth. But as a rough trend, you can use that.
Maximum variety. Got it. And
this is a fantastic example of what we mean by a block out, by the way, right? This is low poly, as you'd see it in games calling themselves low poly games. This is all they get to, right? Because this is a quick and straightforward approach to getting something that's playable, right? Sure, it's not pretty. Yes, it's very simple shapes. There's no fantastical textures. It's not set dressed and so forth. It feels very empty. It won't once it's set dressed. It will feel far more sort of complete. But this allows us to get to the bulk of it. This is what you have to test when you're building a level: is does it feel good to move through? Adding some extra plants to here will only help that, but it won't solve a problem of a level being fundamentally not right? And this is what a block out lets us to do. It lets us make rapid changes, test, be brave, be bold, come up with cool things.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of where we actually like one, the jumping off the top of the ledge was just like, oh, we got to put some like Iron Man-y style shit in there because it just would be so cool. But also these sort of platforms, there was sort of an idea for it originally in the concepts to like maybe we could have a way to be able to move through these tunnels vertically. And to be honest, that's where we started, and then we were like, okay, well, what can we do to just test that mechanic out? So we just built a few tunnels, made this dodgy platform, but what it tells us is how big is this? How is it too big? Do we need to shrink the level? And we actually shrunk this level about 20%. I think 20%, Grant, maybe you said.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe
we
more.
shrunk it. It was just too big. It was just too big, and it didn't work. But we got to know that after a couple of short weeks of play testing, as opposed to get to the finish line with a whole final level, and then have to go back to the drawing board. Not drawing board, but a lot of work to redo it, basically.
Mm-hmm. And the great thing is, because we are releasing the level, like, the game will launch with 3 levels ready to go. And then the plan was always, if you go back in the AMAs and stuff like that, to stagger the releases of the following environments. It means that while we're polishing off the Brightland Steppes, Abyssal Basin, and Crimson Waste regions, the team has a bit more freedom to do things properly and polish levels like Tiga Boreal and Halcyon Sea. So Halcyon Sea is also at this phase of development where we are wrapping up, or it's wrapped up now. These blockouts are considered done. Maybe you can take them over to the green area. That's
I was thinking, should I? Because it's like it's a whole different area.
Do it.
All right.
Quick question.
I don't know the best way to get there.
Quick question from Dragon Rider Girl: is the flying unlimited? Ben, do you want to address that?
Yeah, no, it is unlimited on a macro level. On a micro level, in the short term, it isn't. As Mark plays, you'll see at the bottom of the bottom middle of his screen, there is a energy bar. Do you see it down the bottom there, the pinky purple thing? When that runs out, all of his movement tools are using that energy, and it recharges incredibly rapidly when you're in contact with the ground. But when you're in the air, it doesn't recharge. So unlimited flying, but only for a little bit. And then you have to recharge it. And that allows us to make some areas off limits and, to add puzzles and difficulty, right? Infinite flying is great fun, but also sort of renders the environment uninteractable because you're not forced to walk over it or use it.
Makes sense. The challenge is interesting. And we did an internal test recently where we were traversing through some of these regions to get some of that data on the challenge itself. And that's an interesting part of this. How do you find the balance between making traversal challenging versus it just being frustrating as hell? Like, how do you find the perfect sweet spot?
Generally speaking, we tend towards make it joyful. By and large, puzzles and so forth don't work too well in games where we're expecting repeat play, right? You're going to come back to Tiga Boreal, if you like Tiga Boreal, somewhat regularly. And whilst the spawning changes, the loot changes, and your pathing will change, and how you explore the region will change, completing a puzzle 10 times isn't fun, right? It's fun maybe the first time, but particularly when there's money involved, it's just becomes frustrating very quickly. So generally speaking, we go for fun and interest and joyfulness over sort of frustrating challenge, right?
Mm-hmm. Certain things are repetitious in gamers' minds. They get a pass, and then other things like we will still have per region a couple of puzzle-like elements that are fundamental to that level, but they're not essential to clearing the level, if you get what I mean. So it's we've tried to find the balance that way.
That makes sense. This question's come up a bunch of times from a bunch of people. Are there any plans for day-night cycle, changing weather, sort of dynamic environments at some point in development?
Well, I can answer that question. Mark can as well. Go for it.
My answer is fuck off, don't make me do it. But Grant, you answer the question.
Yeah, okay. All right. So day and night cycles were never meant to be a thing. And the reason for that is when you want to make something truly polished and look cinematic and feel immersive, if you're on a film set, right, you can't make a film set look amazing in 50 different types of lighting. Like, there's a specific way that things were designed to look good under a certain type of lighting. And this region, for example, we might need a sunlight to actually have light get down to those bottom cave areas and things like that. If we go make it nighttime, all of a sudden the artists have to go in and completely redo the lighting on the entire level to include the ambient lights. There's got to be, tech related things solved about how you transition between out in the day versus in caves. And UE5 does technically solve that with Lumen. And we could technically just say to everyone, hey, we're releasing the game. It works with Lumen. And if you've got a shitty graphics card, tough luck. It's not going to run. We don't have that luxury. We've got to make the game performant based on relatively low to medium spec computers. And that means baking down the lighting. So what we do is we try and make each region feel different, have a different lighting scenario, and then bake that down. And that way, over time, those regions will feel unique for that purpose. If you want to feel like you're in the nighttime and doing a more ominous run, go to Crimson Waste or Shard Bluff. If you want something nice, fluffy, daytime, go to Brightland Steps, which is what I'm going to show next.
Got it. Here's a question from, and this is something that I thought was interesting in my concept art walkthrough with Roger. The difference within each region, the different sections. So the question from Walking Feather is there a difference between, let's say, northern, this region versus southern this region, or the different areas? Can you help us understand the variety within the region? It's not just all going to be the exact same snow ice look, correct?
Yeah. So basically, I just was walking through an area called Transphere. I mean, they all have names. We've gone very far with naming all this stuff and making sure that each region has its own character. But Transphere is specifically more green. So there is no other place on the whole level that looks like that, and it has a unique style. It has, I'm not gonna ruin it completely, but there's rocks that have ice embedded into the rocks. You could see even when I was running through it, it's very green, it's very lush. The streams are actually flowing. The plant life is different because it's in, I guess you could call it a higher altitude, but at the same time, it's more that it's in like a cave that gets sunlight. So that's kind of leading into what Grant's talking about, where the sun is sort of essential to this level. It's kind of telling the story a little bit. Whereas in something like Abyssal Basin, it's in more of a moonlight, it's sort of a swampy sort of feel. So we care less about the sun because a lot of the plants are luminous themselves. So that's where it's like we already have a natural light source to guide you through the level. But in the caves or something like that, if it was nighttime, it would just be black. And so we'd have to design our way around it to light the actual space. Like, how does this space get lit? Who knows? But we have, as you can see, green and these rivers will be flowing and all sorts of stuff, just to give you the idea. These will be a combination of rock and ice. So, it'll be sort of a very weird sort of alien style look. And then there is these mountains at the back. These are called the Three Brothers. These will have a very specific style to them as well. They're sort of this strange pearlescent-y, almost like an iridescent opal or something like that. You've got over here where these tall spikes are. This is a very specific area that has this. It's a structure that I'm not going to spoil, but it's a structure to do with the game's lore. And then over here we have a maze where you can go in. And so each of these is going to be like, one is going to be much more sort of transparent, beautiful glowing ice. Some is like thick snow. Some of it's ice that has cracks and all sorts of stuff. Like this is the Frozen Court. That's going to have imagine like a cracked ice lake that you can skate on. It's a bit more like this is going to look like inside of the tunnels. It's going to be a mix of all of them. So yeah, you're not going to have a swamp in this area. It still needs to be somewhat tundra because that's kind of where we are. But yeah, that's kind of a general idea.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. I know you wanted to show another region. I don't want to keep the alpha from our audience here. I just wanted to talk about the variety within here. This is not like a Mario snow level where it's just the same look all the way through. There's a lot of variety, it's the scope of it is huge.
Yeah, the scope is bigger than people realize because we've been holding back sharing run-throughs of all 7 different environments. Crimson Waste is actually, in terms of playable space, smaller than the other regions in general sense. Some regions are just enormous, and the question came up: what if people can't clear these levels in the time that we deem is necessary? Like, what if people want to casually play the game for an hour and clear a level? It just means what we have to do in certain regions is only spawn in stuff in maybe half of the level or a third of the level, so that each time you play, you're in a different area. You're having to clear that specific different area of the level, which also increases the repetitiveness of the game. It means that things don't get old quicker because you're not seeing the same stuff every single time you go into a region.
That makes sense. And here's a question. With the scope of each of these regions, obviously you could get lost. And maybe to a certain extent that could be good, but obviously if it goes too far, that can be frustrating and a bad experience. So would there be a mini-map of some kind, or can you help everyone understand the navigational tools, Ben, that will be available for folks to help them navigate around these gigantic, fantastical spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a few things going on. So number one actually ties into what Mark was just saying about each of the regions having significantly different feelings, despite the fact they're still ice regions, right? The northern part was very different to the southern part. If you're in that region, or that sub-region rather, where you are. Next up, then we have obviously is the mini map. You can see it on the bottom left as we're playing here. It's on the blockhouse. It doesn't actually exist. It's just a white thing. But on the more fleshed out regions, you can use it. And then we obviously have a gigantic map. So if you were to open up the inventory, you can see the map for these regions. And we also allow you to teleport. We have infinite teleports back to the obelisk. Takes a few seconds. It slows you down, but you can always sort of recenter yourself on the obelisks. And then we also have a item that you can take into the overworld called I think they're called dimensional beacons or teleport beacons. I think I call them right now, which you can place throughout the region during your runs. If you're going into a difficult battle and you're not sure you're going to win it, place down the beacon at the entrance to it, go into the battle, and if you lose, then you can teleport back to that location if you fail. And it allows you to sort of jump around the map very quickly and to sort of save your progress, so to speak, during your run.
It's going to be so cool.
Yeah, so this is actually Halcyon Sea. Have we shown anything of this before?
This is a world's first. I was about to say, tell everybody which region this is. What are they looking at? I think this is the first time we've ever shown any video of this region ever. So give us the primer just on the basics here so people can catch up.
Yeah, so basically this level is called Halcyon Sea. I think it was actually one of the first that was conceptualized, but we've only actually just recently put focus on it. But basically you're by the sea, as you might guess. There's lots of water, there's lots of sand. It's more of a beach chill out feel. We sort of reference Greece a lot, like islands in Greece, to sort of give us an idea about the sort of the feel that you want to go for. Beautiful sunny afternoon in Greece with a cocktail or something. I don't know, whatever your poison is, but that's the main idea. Nice white sand, very, very striking sort of mountains and terrain and things like that. And then for some reason, this crazy ass shape, which is awesome. I
don't tell them why it's there.
No.
The best kept secret in Illuvium is the lore and why anything is happening anywhere. Best kept secret in the world.
Exactly.
This wasn't here about 2 weeks ago, and I think Roger came up with the idea, and he's just like, "Why don't we go with this?" And I'm like, "All right." So we just gave it a shot.
Roger, me.
No. It's not.
No, it was me, mate. It was me. It was my idea, right?
I was referencing the Lord of the Rings towers. When they come through the
gates of Argonath.
Yeah.
It's true. The original idea was true that you gave me the gates of Argonath reference picture. We want these two sort of, I don't know, totems of some kind. Yeah. So this region as well, and this is actually a really good example of us being able to iterate quickly on this. These red corals, the pink spires, and actually the entire mountain structure that wasn't actually there about 2 weeks ago. This is because we had something before, we didn't like it, we designed something else, and we quickly blocked it out. And within a few days, the artist that's working on this, Emil, he just nailed it. We went through a couple of rounds of concept to get the feeling, and immediately we all just started loving this level. It's actually been one of the trickier ones to design. We've gone around a lot on this one, but it's really starting to feel good.
Yeah, this was a perfect example of how we did things wrong the first time, where basically we put all the work into Crimson Waste to get that ready, as that was going to be our beta level, and other levels took a back step, and we weren't in the mindset of like playability. It was more just about how do we make stuff look good, and we actually pushed a previous version of Halcyon Sea much further than this, and then realized it's just not working. You know, that's one of the things being a first-time game studio and having to kind of bootstrap everything together. It didn't work, and you've got to be prepared to go, okay, let's just scrap it and start again and use a different pipeline, a different workflow, which, you know, we took this workflow from the Tiga Boreal level, and this level has progressed much faster. So this level, all of the assets are basically done now. I think for all the regions now, we're about 95% through the asset pipeline. So what you're seeing here will rapidly evolve over time. Over the next few months, you'll begin to see all of these levels look similar to the next level I'll show you, which is the Brightland Steps update. So we've shown you 2 blockouts, not meant to look pretty. They're just meant to feel the right scale. Like, this level has so much more to it you're not seeing here. Like, there are tunnel systems in throughout the mountains and things like that. There's just a lot. You know,
there's a
lot to go through. yeah. You know, the things that look interesting. Yeah, like all these assets are so giant. It's really crazy. But yeah. I want to take you guys through the Brightland Steps update, and this is one of the really exciting things about working with our outsourced studio Onyx, because they've been working on this while we're developing the other regions internally. So the way we work with Onyx is we do all the concepting and then do a basic level block out, hand that to their studio, and they're a studio of 10 to 15 people working on this level, and they take our block out and start trying to make it playable. Let me just share my screen.
You want to share yours? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll switch over to that. You know, help me understand, because everybody's seeing regions right now. So how do we prioritize internally which regions we should be working on and which step we should be completing with each of these regions, just so everybody can understand? Yep. This isn't just us randomly throwing plants and things into regions, right? Yep. There's a logic here. Can you share that logic?
The 3 regions that the player will play when the game is out. First up, Brightland Steps, Abyssal Basin, and Crimson Waste. Crimson Waste is by far the most progressed level. And then we've got both Leote's studio working on Abyssal and Onyx working on Brightland Steps. They're just on the brink of passing this level back to us, because one of the things with working with outsourced studios is they can be extremely beneficial for cutting time out of certain parts of the pipeline, but it's not a full A to Z process that you palm off to the studio. So we have to get the level to a point where the block out is done, it looks nice, and then take it over internally to polish things like the pathing, the playability, the spawn points, where things spawn in the level, how that affects certain things. We do VFX polishing, tech art. There's a whole bunch of things that we're about to take over on Brightland Steps, and you'll see that now it's getting to a point where Crimson Waste is starting to look like. And this is my favorite region. This was the region that we showed in the trailer.
So
and now the level.
Got it. Yep. Are you screen sharing right now? Because I don't see yours here in Discord.
I am in Discord. Yeah. Do you see it? It says I'm live.
See it. Okay, I see it. Great. Let me pull this up here.
Cool. It is just an absolutely gargantuan level.
Yep, that's mine.
Okay. Can you kill yours so we can see the other one then? It's only showing me one screen share right now. Sorry about that. I promise I paid for my Zoom subscription. It's not Zoom.
There's one thing I'll mention. Yeah, on Outsourced Studios is
there it is. It was hiding it from me, Grant. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I got you now, amigo. So let me go ahead and focus on you and get you full screen here.
So one of the things with outsourced studios is how you use them, right? Nowadays, they are a part of game development, but one of the things that I think is really important is what you hand over to them. right? At the end of the day, if you're handing them over your tech, then that's not sustainable, because you need your internal team to be able to understand, modify, maintain these products into the far future, right? We're not looking at Illuvium as a 1 year, 2 year project. Illuvium is a long-term project that's going to be hanging around. So you need an internal team who is up to speed, who understands how the tech works and why you're doing things and all these things, and has built that expertise with your levels in order to maintain it and to further development. So with our outsourced studios, generally speaking, the way to think about them is, by and large, they're art focused, and we hand them the initial sort of 30% of the work, and then they take that 30 to an 80, and then we do the final 20% as well. So it's at all points somewhat remains under our control, but they help us get there quicker. And with our crazy deadlines and the speed we're moving, it allows us to just get the work done fast.
So we're providing the creative vision, the direction, the requirements, and all of that up front. They're doing the kind of bulk of the work in the middle, and then we're finishing on the back end. Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
So
in a
now-
way, the studios as well. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm sorry. I was just about to, just really quick, we're showing something beautiful on the screen. Can you just give some context on what you're showing here, Grant, so
Yeah.
everybody can understand? Wow, so pretty.
Yeah, so in the trailer, I remember, seeing the influencer reactions to this level, and I told people, like, don't, it's going to completely change. We're going to get it a lot better, and it's going to feel bigger and more open and immersive. Like what we saw in the trailer was like what Illuvium could have been. Now you're seeing what it will be like, and this level, we still don't have plants in it. We still don't have things that are, like in Tiga Boreal, you had the platforms that launch you up in the air, the geysers, and in Brightland Steps, you have the bubble plants. So you'll be able to jump into these plants. The bubbles will take you up through the level, and then you'll be able to jetpack over to where you want to go using the gliding mechanics. So once again, this is an absolutely huge level. I'll do a run through and play with it, but now we've got individual. Yeah. Well, now we've got individual areas, and I mean, this is definitely by far my favorite level. The verticality is unique to our game, and this level is specifically designed to like maximize the fun that you gain out of the verticality. The idea for this level is you spawn in, ride one of the bubble plants up into the air quite high, and then jetpack over to one of the areas you want to go. It's amazing, the amount of detail and work. The other thing we've got to do, obviously, right now is these tentacles are mostly placeholder. We will go in on the large ones and clean these up with sculpting, but you don't want to do that until you've play tested, because they don't influence the playability of the game. So once the game's flowing correctly, we'll go in and do the final type of polishing. But yeah, it's just the volumetrics and everything about this level. I just absolutely love it. I think it's so unique to Illuvium. It's just so cool.
God, this is incredible. So Grant, I don't know if you remember, you did like a private screen share with me when you were blocking this out and just moving stuff around.
Yeah.
I got to see it in the primordial goo phase, like we saw the other levels earlier in the stream. And now for me, the finishing touches. So so it's cool. You can feel the scope. You can feel maybe what it would be like when you see the blocking version. But once some of the finishing touches get in there, that's when it really becomes real.
That's what gives it.
Gives it the
That's
feeling.
what gives it the AAA polish, and then nothing we've done yet has that AAA polish, because that wouldn't be a beta at that point. That would be the final game. So this will get into people's hands at 90 to 95% done. We gain feedback on the gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. If things need to be tweaked, set dressing changes, whatever, then we go in and do that last 5% during the beta. So while people are testing the beta, it's the same thing as survival. People right now are playing survival. They've been playing it for months, and we're well into the PB2 now, where we're fixing all of those things from that first beta experience. So let me just...
Walking Feather has another good question. Just is they're wondering about destructible environments. So everything's so beautiful and handcrafted. You're not gonna let anybody blow up your stuff?
No.
Put
too much time to let you ruin it. Yeah, no.
I'm just going to play the level. Just give it a sec.
All right, cool. Yeah, so anybody wondering, is this real gameplay? He's just really screen sharing this. You can see the weird aspect ratio on there. There's the UI. This is real gameplay here, friends. There it is.
No. the lighting is not working anymore now when you play.
Yeah, I think the post-process is not streaming. I knew,
isn't it?
Here we go. We're going to troubleshoot this live. All right. So if you go,
this is what Mark and I do for days. So
no, feel free to troubleshoot it live. People get to see the real deal here.
Yeah. Always loaded.
That is always loaded. But you're looking for the R&D one. Is there
R&D.
2 of them? I bet there's 2 of them somewhere. Can you just scroll up and then check? No, they're all loaded. Just show me which ones are all loaded. We're going to spend like another 20 seconds, and if this doesn't work, I'm bored. Let me just see, because it's really, really hard to see.
This is guys, just so you can know, this is a really elaborate fake gameplay here. Like we came up with this whole bit where it's not going to work, and then we're going to have to look at the thing. Anyway.
I love working with artists, because they both of them are literally unable to walk around this area until the lighting sticks. It was just torturing them to look at the lighting sticks. They can't do it. They can't do it.
It's a waste of time.
It's like you can't judge anything with shitty lighting. Yeah. So what do we do here, man?
There's nothing obvious that's doing it for me, unfortunately. Yeah, there's nothing obvious here.
Just
is what it is.
It's okay. You can just fly through then. If you don't want to show the gameplay without the lighting or whatever, that's fine. We can just do fly through.
I do. I really truly do, because you don't get a sense of the scale until you realize that you're like this big, in the level. But yeah, so this is another level. Do we show Abyssal Basin? Because I know we're in the process right now of transitioning over on that level as well. Maybe that's for another stream or something like that.
I mean, we could take a quick look, but it would just be like a spawn in the obelisk, take a quick look around, and then
all right, well, we can skip it.
Yeah.
No. Abyssal Basin's the best level. Best level.
We could do that.
We save something for later. Like, I mean, don't leak everything.
This is Grant, by the way. This is Grant.
The leaker in chief.
I just can't be bothered. I mean, look how enormous this is. Now, I don't know. We are just a mini game in the Star Atlas universe, so we're doing our best.
This is 1/8 of the planet.
Yeah,
this is actually just like one trophy on the shelf of one of your ships you paid $100,000 for in Star Atlas.
Yeah.
Enough about Star Atlas.
We're getting there.
Never ends.
Look how good
it never will. It never will end now.
Never will.
That's at 80%.
Does this not look effing ridiculous right here? So yeah. So you're saying how far along, like in the spectrum of
80,
0 to 100, where are we at here in terms of finished?
80%.
Roughly.
The level is there. The set dressing is there. The grass is getting there. We'll fix the vines up. VFX and plants need to get spawned in. This region is actually relatively devoid of generic plants. We've got, if you saw the Vulcan stream, we have levels for, an update in the environment gameplay where you'll be able to eventually fight the plants in the level. But there's also just standard plants that won't attack you. Not every plant is going to attack you or anything like that. Only the harvestables. This level is relatively devoid of those other plants because we just felt that the environment itself was the art piece, the rock structure, the way it flows, all of that type of stuff. So, it's 80% done, and over the next few months, we'll get it to 100%, and it's going to be really fucking cool. There's heaps of stuff that's going to go in here. This is like,
I've got it up by the way. It's working for me.
Do you?
Yeah. So you want to pull it up with the gameplay working for you? Sure. We can do that.
Yeah. If that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Let me pull that up.
Did you turn Luminol?
I don't know what I did.
So a moment ago, Grant, you mentioned, the idea that, and obviously everything's in development and we're not making any firm promises on what exactly things are going to be like. But you mentioned the fighting plants. People asking, are we just going to be walking around these places, or are we going to actually be fighting something and having?
You want to see, if you go watch the Vulcan stream, if you want to see me break down what's going to happen with the plant interaction and stuff like that, it's a totally different discussion. This Insider was just meant to be about sharing the artwork updates and stuff like that. So
makes sense. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Everybody's asking about combat in the open world. We're going to communicate a lot more about that later. This is not a combat in the open world stream here, guys.
But in the first beta, like in the first Overworld beta, that obviously won't be integrated. We had the discussion, like, do we delay the beta to get that in? We felt like, no, it's something that we kind of know the community is going to want at this point. It was one of the few feedbacks we had in that first video we released, which is fair enough. You know, we're not delusional, and we're checking ourselves constantly on what we think this game could be and like where it's at. We want it to be as good as it can be. You know, we could work 10 years on it, but there's got to be certain decisions made to get it in the players' hands and get it tested and make sure that it's performant and things like that. So when that first Overworld beta comes out, you won't have interactive plans to go fight and attack, but you will be able to help us get the level further along in development with the feedback you provide. And then as the second beta comes around, just like the first survival beta gets updated, the Overworld will get updated with the plants in it.
Got it. And so everybody here, we are in sort of gameplay mode, if you will. In which region is this?
Brightland Steps.
Brightland Steps. Just wanted to get that context. So
did you get my stream?
Yeah, I've got it on the screen right now. I'm watching everything you're doing right now. And so this is what folks saw in the gameplay reveal trailer. And this is, there you go. Now you can get an idea of the verticality, how difficult it will be to traverse all of these high cliffs, and how the feel would be. So I've got a question for you, and this is just a stupid layman's question, but how do you figure out precisely how large these these rock faces and everything should be relative to the Ranger to get it just right to where it's challenging to jump around, but it's not too challenging? Are there certain just play testing, huh?
You just play test it. You just build it. You run around it. You adjust it. You know, I've done that on the Crimson Waste level when I was streaming the set dressing on that. And now that we've taken... So one of the reasons why we haven't been doing live streams with real development on these regions is because they've been in the outsourcers' hands. And there's technical things with game dev. Like they might be running on a different pipeline that uses different software. Like we use GitHub. They might use Perforce. And that's like a commit application where once you make changes, that software stores all those changes. And that's something that, you know, once every 2 weeks we'll merge their work into our own, but it's not real time. So I can't go in and do a live stream set dressing in the area or get one of the artists to do a live stream, because if they work on that, we can't commit it back to the outsourcers. So that's why we're excited to get the levels back in our own hands. They'll continue working on other regions while we polish these regions. So you can expect over the next couple of months, me and Mark and other people on the environment team to be doing interactive live streams showcasing us polishing these levels off. And you'll get to see real time how they're all coming together.
Not me. It'll be my day-to-day will just be yelling at Ben and Grant.
And busting my balls. Yeah. It's actually one of the good things about Mark being a friend on the team is kind of like when you are art directing a project, you don't factor in all of the technical limitations and the performance-based issues. And if you haven't worked with someone before and you've got to make critical decisions and you feel like you can't make that decision because you don't want to like ruin the art or something, Mark being a friend can just come and say like, dude, that's fucking stupid. Like, that's not going to work. Don't do it. And I can be like, cool, like, let's not do it then, you know? But yeah, it's going really well.
It's always the push pull between, like, the thing with environments is that I kind of sit firmly in the middle between, I understand how much we have to make the tech work, and I also understand that I don't want something that looks ugly. I kind of want both to be as good as they can be. So I kind of feel like I'm often, you know, kind of refereeing, like, you know, we can't do this because of this tech reason between the tech artists. And then also I'm also like, yeah, but it looks like shit. So I want it to look better. So how do we solve that problem? And, you know, it's kind of an interesting, it's kind of an interesting challenge. I didn't really expect it to be like that, to be honest, but because I've never made a game. So
fair enough. Are there any closing thoughts that you guys have that you want to share?
Yeah,
obviously, we clearly need to do more Overworld streams in the future, and we can withhold some of the stuff, I suppose, for those, so we can have some more juicy items.
I'll do one more.
Go ahead. Oh, okay.
I'll do one more because we haven't shown a battle map. So I want to show Lieute's work on the battle map because that is looking amazing. Give me a second.
Sure, no problem. I'm just gonna keep your screen
I'll be quick
going
about
here.
this one.
Sure.
We're incredibly proud of the work everyone's doing, including our outsourcers.
Okay, let me pull that one up then. Everybody, are you enjoying this stream right now? If you are enjoying this stream, enjoying this content, share it with somebody who you know who doesn't know anything about Illuvium. Tell them to come in here and check out game development. I think it's cool to see the behind the scenes aspect of it. All right, just waiting for that screen share, amigo.
Yeah,
and then I'll pull it up.
Sorry.
No problem.
Loading. Give me a sec.
We love this kind of stream. The feedback's been great here. So Grant, this is a great idea for a stream. I think we definitely need to do more of these.
Is this where the level all of a sudden isn't working?
Let me know once your screen share is active, and I'll pull it up.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool.
I'll pull it up in case it, for some reason.
So this level was...
Hold on. Let me pull it up for everybody before you start talking about it. One sec.
No problem.
Thanks, man. Let me full screen it. Get rid of everybody else. And activate. Okay, go ahead.
We're in?
We're in, baby.
Cool. Okay, so like for each region, you've also got the battle maps, which you'll be fighting Illuvials in. These are separate areas that we design and set dress. And this is an example of something that's basically ready to go. Apart from the battle board itself, the environment, the look dev, the lighting is very, very close to what you'll see in the final game. And we've got 7 of these.
This looks ridiculous, dude. I've never seen this one before. Where is this? This is insane.
We haven't shown everything, you know? Like, once again, the reason why we don't really share some of this stuff is because it's in the outsourced studio's hands. And, you've got
people are flipping out in the stream right now. This looks so ridiculously good.
Yeah. The detail we put into everything, all of these are custom assets. These are things like, you know, if they're in the outsourced studio's hands, I don't feel comfortable running around and showing people stuff because it might change from week to week. And you guys have been patient. Eventually, you know, you see the results of what we're working on. It's not just, you know, shit's happening behind the scenes. Not everything is leaked, and there is still heaps of exciting stuff to share with people. You know, we've got the Shard Bluff region being blocked out by Vanya, and that is also going to be a crazy region. You know, lava, dark rocks, and things like that. So there is like, when you go into these regions and you're fighting the characters and stuff like that, each region's battle map will have different ambient noises and sounds. It'll feel different. Day to day, as you're playing the game, you know, you might want to have an easy run, you know, find some easier characters when you're starting out, and then you go to regions with some of the harder characters. We're going to try and balance all that together. But the variation is what makes our game unique. It's not just one region. It's not just one style. It's essentially 8 different styles and feelings that you get playing the game. So coming together, and it's looking amazing. And, you know, I'm really excited.
Are there little teeny tiny rangers like on the sides there to kind of show the scope?
They're there for the scale and the line. This is you know, Marc pointed out, one of the cool things that Marc did when we came on was, I'm a bit of a lunatic in terms of organization. Like, I'm the least organized person on this team, fact. And I'll do things that work in one area, but then don't work in another area. So even though they look good, they're not balanced. Since Marc's come on, he's tried to standardize everything so that lighting in its default state works for all of the Illuvials, and there's no gamma problems. Like, some textures might be darker, some textures might be too saturated. We've normalized all of that now, and you're seeing the result of that in the Ranger being too dark, because this was done prior to Marc coming on the team and not having a standardized lighting setup, and her textures are too dark because we had spotlights aimed on her face in the trailer and things like that. So those things need to be tweaked. But like, yeah, like pretty amazing.
Even better in game. In all honesty, this looks amazing, and it's even better once you've got audio. Once you've got, you know, it's in front of you. It's just spectacular.
You spawn in. There's a holographic Illuvial on the board. Our capturing flow is coming together. Ben and I were sitting there going, "Holy shit!" last night, because we've got all of our leads on this capturing Strike Force team so that when you go into these regions, the loot isn't just going to be like you saw in that preview video from a couple of months ago, which was just complete dog shit. It's going to be all AAA, all fleshed out. When you capture a character and when you spawn in and see a cool character, you're going to be like, whoa, like, holy crap, So that's all there is to it. We're pulling this off bit by bit.
This is so many world's first premieres of all this different stuff. This is amazing. So what people are seeing right here, help people understand on a scale of it just got started to it's finished and it's no longer dog shit to you, Grant. Where are we at here with how good this level is?
Yeah.
Because
just to check, Grant has 2 modes.
He has 2 modes. Okay, give us the insight.
He basically has 2 modes. It's either perfect or dog shit. There aren't any in between.
Got it.
Perfect is like the best that's ever existed, and dog shit's the worst. There's nothing else. And it's like one day to the next he'll look at his own work and be like, "This is dog shit." Like, you did that, man. Like,
so is this currently this thing that everybody's flipping out about, the screen share right here? Is this currently dog shit because it's not perfect yet?
No. This is not dog shit. This is not dog shit, and this is actually one of my favorite things. So I approached Leotes Studio based on work they had up on their art station, and the work they had up on their art station was very similar to this look and feel. So I knew as a studio they would be able to pull this off, and they have. It looks amazing. It looks just as good as any of their other work they've done, if not better. And the only thing that's missing from this is ambient noises, maybe a little lighting tweak to get like more light in the central area of the board when we spawn Illuvials in and stuff like that. But essentially, artistically, I'm absolutely loving this. I think it feels perfect. The spacing's great. It's claustrophobic, but the camera, you can, from a streamer's perspective, you're not going to like feel like you can't see the entire board from every angle.
Mm-hmm.
There might be, and in some cases that will look even good. Remember, our game will eventually have that cinematic mode where if a really cool battle takes place, you'll be able to save that battle, re-render it with depth of field, sampling, ray tracing. It's going to be stupid. It's going to be crazy. So definitely I absolutely love this work that they've done. Like, we're really excited. Leotes are about to jump onto another battle board doing the Tiga Boreal battle board. So like, as always, we will get there and it will be as good as we say it will be. So
really quick before we leave this battle board here, it obviously looks great. The environment's amazing. The art's incredible. Ben, can you paint a little bit of color here for everyone who's not familiar with our battle boards? What sort of gameplay and experiences are our players going to have on this battle board? Obviously, it looks gorge, but what are they actually going to be doing here, and why does that matter? And from it tying into the rest of the gameplay experiences perspective.
Yeah, so our battle boards are the heart of our overworld experience. This is where you are going to take your team and you're going to go battle the wild Illuvials and try and capture them. So you will traverse through the overworld and you will look for wakes. You shall teleport through them into these locations and you shall battle with them. And as you battle with them and as you try and capture and as you use your units, the space will break down. We have a mechanic we call dimensional stability, and this area will start to fall apart. And you were in this battle, desperately trying to capture the Illuvials before the space itself collapses and you have to flee. So it's just this high octane, high excitement. This is the peak of the Overworld experience. The moment when you capture your first ever Ramfire. It's the moment that you fantasize about while you're at work and you look forward to getting home to play this. This is the moment.
Perfect. Thank you for that extra color on that. Guys, my mind is blown. I asked you not to show me any of this before the stream. I just wanted to shut up and let you show it. It looks so freaking good. This is the perfect place. This is the perfect place to end creating the Overworld stream number 1. And then maybe soon we can do another one, a follow-up, and you can show even more areas. And it would be really, really interesting to show the progress on the existing areas, like the ones you're blocking out now, to show the different stages as they're being developed. Audience, let us know if you'd be interested in seeing that progress over time. For me, internally, getting that private stream from Grant, seeing the blocking and then seeing it be near finished, 80%, is really cool to see the transformation. Any final thoughts you guys want to share here on the stream?
I have made enough jokes at this point. I can't do it again. I'm done. Yeah, I want to go ape shit, but I can't. So
Warwicks are savage. It is what it is. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Illuvium Insider. If you haven't already, the way you can catch these episodes, the main way, the easiest way, is to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, to enable notifications. We've got more of these coming up, not only for Overworld, but also for Illuvatars coming up as well. We're going to be doing full in-depths on Illuvatars, and if IIP24 gets approved, then we'll be sharing with you all of those new details. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on the stream today. Great idea to do the stream grant. We've got to do more of this, featuring the incredible art, development work, and behind the scenes. Mark and Ben, you guys killed it. You did really good.
good haircut.
Wonderful. Thanks for having us.
Fairly good haircut.
Fairly
Haircut,
good.
haircut
Nice.
MVP.
Next time we'll get Grant sheared beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
yourself
had a
a
haircut in 4 months.
I wish I had that much hair up front for myself, man. That would be great.
Dude, you don't. Trust me. You don't.
You should
All right,
share. Grant, you remember when you boxed, you had you got something in your head, like a line in, like you got like some, you got some sort of like tribal thing in your head. That's the world's best.
Yeah.
That's the world's best haircut. You need to share that because
Yeah. Maybe we can put that into one of the characters. I don't know. That's old school days.
dog shit haircut.
Someone needs to knock me out, though. I can tell you that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next